Good evening. Okay, so this is gonna roll. I like for people to, holler back at me, speak when I say good evening. I'm gonna try, and I just need just a little enthusiasm. Have a lot to celebrate. Okay. Good evening. Oh, thank you. We want to welcome you to our combined work session and board meeting on this evening, November the 21st, 2024. And so the time now is 6:01 p.m. And first off, just wanted to do our view of the agenda and wanted to make sure everyone has had a chance to review the agenda for this evening.
Yes.
Okay, the board is going to get it together too. It's all right. So right now we're going to item 2.0 to 2.1. And so I'm calling this meeting together. Before we get started, if there's any members who desire to address the board on any topic related to board work, there is a sign-up sheet in the back, but we would need for you to have that completed by 6:30 p.m. So with that being said, we are going to turn it over to Mrs. Arambide. Would you please call the roll?
Yes, Madam President. Ms. Frazier,
Frazier is absent this evening.
Dr. Robinson,
Here.
Mrs. Salazar. Here. Mr. Williams,
Here.
Mrs. Wills Hill,
Here.
Mr. Gallegos,
Here.
Mr. Rawlings. Madam President, we have a quorum.
Thank you so very much. So at this time, we're going to item 2.3. It is the Pledge of Allegiance and the reading of the mission statement. So leading that on this evening is our student board rep from Harrison High School, Mr. Aiden Gallegos. The floor.
I'll stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Now, I will be reading the mission statement. Graduate college and career-ready students with the knowledge, skills, attitudes, and behaviors to personally succeed and contribute to the common good.
Thank you so much, Mr. Gallegos. We are proceeding on with item 3.1. I will just need a motion to adopt the agenda.
Madam President, I move to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion to approve the agenda as stated by Mr. Williams, second by Mrs. Salazar. All those in favor?
Aye.
We now have a board meeting. Right, moving on to, I hit that with authority, didn't I? I hit it like I'm the president. So, item 4, showcasing schools. On this evening, we're so pleased to have Harrison High School. And so we have representatives who will be coming up and representing. That is with Pete Vargas, the principal, Ms. Mindy Simons, Mr. Tyler Lawrence, Mr. Phil Herfindahl, Molly McCann, all assistant principals. The floor is now yours. So before you go further, push the button. There you
Oh,
go.
nobody heard me. That's good. Oh, I'm confident. I'm ready to go. This is year 6, and here we go. Board, Dr. Burr-Hansel, we are so excited to be here tonight, especially with our soccer team here with us. Look at that picture. Look at that right there. Yeah. Our goal in the next 15 minutes is to paint a picture for you.
paint a picture of what's happening at Harrison High School. We did do this presentation 6 years ago, and we had a lot of dreams. And what you're going to hear is those dreams turning into reality. You're going to hear some good things. You're going to hear some bad. But one thing our superintendent, our leader, leads us and tells us, we got to own our ugly. So that's how we're going to start off with today. We all came together as an administrative team, and we have a lot of great things, but we decided that we needed to own our ugly, and that's what we needed to start off with. We didn't land where we thought we were going to in our school performance framework, and took us by surprise. I felt as our building leader that we did everything we were supposed to do. But when you see that report, it was a sock in the belly. If you watched the Tyson fight on Friday, it was in a sock like that. But it really got us. And one of the things that it did, and I'm most proud of, is our entire community has taken ownership to this. You're going to hear from students, you're going to hear from Molly, our assistant principal, how we all came together and we've taken ownership to what we need to do. Our district has came behind us and said, okay, Pete, what is it that we need to do? We had Dr. Burhansel, we had Rachel, we had Dr. Claudio in our building 2 weeks ago doing walkthroughs, giving us feedback. And from that feedback, I don't want to get too deep into it because we have that in our presentation. But I've been around the block a lot, and I have not seen anything like this where, you know what, we're going to help you get better. We're going to stop what we're doing, and we're going to get in your building, and we're going to have eyes. It's not a gotcha. I'm proud of that. And there is no doubt in my mind, 1968 Joe Namath guaranteed that Super Bowl win. Well, tonight I am going to guarantee that we're going to get out of this. And there is no doubt in my mind that we're going to be playing with performance soon because of the work that's happening right now. And this isn't a Harrison thing. This is a Harrison School District 2 thing. And thank you, board. And with that, before I get way too more emotional, I'm going to have Molly jump in because she's going to get us started.
Okay, I have no sports references, and honestly, I'm just going to talk about numbers. So, we know where we are. We are super close to improvement. So we are 1.3 points away from that improvement. Taking a look at some of the test data that we had last year, there's a lot of areas where we can gain some points. We had our staff look at this as well, connecting to the academic achievement performance goal for the board. But in terms of some of like the really attainable goals for our PSAT 9 and 10 ELA, we are within 10 points of gaining 2 additional points overall. That would get us out. For CMAS, it's the same thing. We're only 8 points away. So all juniors on science, we're super close, and we have a really committed team. And then for SAT ELA, we're only 4 points away. And then for math, PSAT 9, 10, within certain student subpopulations, we're within 3-4 points. So there's a lot of areas where going into next year, we can move the needle. And then ultimately, we'd like to get into the green. We know it's possible. We know that this report card doesn't tell the whole story of our school. So just kind of wanted to show where we're going to gain, and definitely think it's going to happen going into next year. So at this point, I'm going to pass it over to Mindy Simons to talk about how we worked with Sierra High School after our mock PSAT, SAT in October to really break down our next areas of growth.
So one of the things we've done is we've sought out partnerships. So we sought out partnership with our sister school in a collaboration that was made possible by several efforts. One of those was the College Board, for the first time, has broken down the SAT into not only domains, but into skills and levels of difficulty. That gave us, for the first time, a common language that we could collaborate on. We had not had that before. We just had broad domains. But now we have skills, and we also have levels of difficulty, which meant when we did our mock exam, this was the other partnership, district took the mock exam and broke those standards down or questions down into skills and domains as well, which meant when we got the feedback, We were able to talk common language down to the skill level. We've never been able to do that before. It was such meaningful data, which means now moving forward, we know exactly which 2 broad domains we need to focus on in math. We know which 2 broad domains we need to focus on in ELA, as well as the skills. And we have testing tools that are allowing us to test by skill and level of difficulty, and we can test kids out. We can go, okay, we've got linear equations in 1 variable, getting up to 75%. We've got it. We've got the easy problems now. We're moving on to medium problems. Now we're moving on to hard problems. We've never been able to do that kind of work. The other partnership that Sierra and I both benefited from was from the district. We had Albert IO purchased from the district. They have a huge test bank for SAT, and they have problems disaggregated by skill and by level of difficulty as well. So we're maximizing that resource with our kids every day, trying to put problems in front that are targeted on things that we know we need based off of those results. So super powerful work we've never been able to do, and it was great to be able to collaborate and see some commonalities across those.
Okay, so also to talk more numbers, I think going off of Mindy's point, a huge thank you goes out to Scott Weldon and Matt Zahner for developing that mock. I know both Sierra and Harrison really appreciate that. So I know they're not here, but kudos to them. So what we did coming out of the mock is we did also have the week after, it was the week with parent-teacher conferences, and we had a table set up where parents, guardians were able to get live score data from the mock exam, which was super aligned based on the work that Scott and Matt did about where their kid would fall based on College Board and based on state bands. And through that community partnership with parents, really giving them information about resources, live data, where their kid is at, what their kid could do to grow. So that was another really helpful tool coming out of that mock exam. Brooke, you want to?
So I know Mindy talked a lot about the data. So with that data, we also got teacher ownership. So what we did with that is we did some full staff PDs. The biggest one was we did an overview simplified SPF. So just like what Molly was saying is we let the teachers find out where are high leverage points. So then teachers took ownership to know what can they specifically do. Can they impact science the most? Can they impact English the most? So that way we got teachers to see where can they have the highest leverage, as well as understanding where we are in SPF and taking ownership themselves as well. So we made sure that all teachers were aware of the SPF and knowing how they can best support our growth. With that, after our mock SAT, we also had, when we divided the data, we could simplify into specific domains, especially in the math and the English. We could see specifically what skills are students lacking versus what are they doing well in. And so when we pivoted, we taught them the Insight Toolkit, where then they could see example problems, and then they can give specific data points based off of where their students scored. So they could see that students scored lower in different aspects of the English, and then they could take the Insight tool for the digital PSAT and SAT to be able to know what can I do with my students and give very specific problems to build those skills. And then after we did it with staff, students also took big ownership to this. So Mr. Lawrence is going to speak to how students took ownership to our SPF.
I'm actually going to introduce kids who are going to speak to it. But as you can tell, there's been a lot of collective work already in order to move learning so that we can get out of priority improvement and into improvement or beyond. From the beginning, transparency has been our aim as a school, knowing the importance of community in this work. And so here we have 2 stellar students, Logan and Marcus, who are going to talk about their endeavoring in this, specifically as it relates to journalism and the Panther Press.
Hello, my name is Marcus Hughes, and I just want to give a little background on how journalism overcame and how we partnered with the administrators and come up with this article. Basically, after our advisor got the information about the SPF and everything, we came up together as a class, and then we started interviewing certain people like Rachel Lawfer and our administration team, such as Lawrence, Miss Molly, and Pete Vargas. We just wanted to ask them about the next steps on how it's going, and then how students can help, and how we can unite as a family to get out of priority improvement.
Hi, I'm Logan Walthall. We really did this because as a student body, we knew that it needed attention to the problem. And one thing at Harrison is we care about each other. So knowing that we, like Marcus said, we got together, we did the interviews, and we got it out to our student body, because it really takes a village to get out of impropriety and improvement. And we really just wanted to draw attention to the problem. Best way to do that, journalism. So we got it out there, and a lot of people took notice to that. So it's working. The student body does want to get out of improvement and eventually get to that green zone. Yeah, so I'm proud to be a Harrison Panther, especially with causes like this. So.
So what are we doing instructionally? What are some of our leverage points? And I do have a sports reference. What is in our playbook, right? What can we add up the ante when we're up against the state, when we're up against some of the best teams, right? We want to create a consistent educational experience for all our students, no matter what period of the day they walk into. So rooted out of that, we created a walkthrough for the first 15 minutes of class, knowing those first 15 minutes are some of that prime time for our kids to get engaged right away and get them in class. And we communicated that data with departments. I'm happy to say that we went up to 90% of our teachers were excelling in the first 15 minutes of class within 4 weeks, which is amazing. And I want to celebrate our teachers for getting there so quickly, knowing the urgency that is behind this work. Also, district, thank you. We had superintendent's team come in October 2nd and do some walkthroughs and give us super valuable feedback to move forward with this. And out of that work that you guys did, we moved forward. So we created a walkthrough that focuses on the 4 language domains, which were some of our areas of feedback that we need to improve on. So we're like, hey, you told us what we need to work on. We're moving forward. We're doing this. This is now a part of our plays. So thank you for adding to our playbook. We appreciate that. And what we have done is now we pulled in district as well with some supports with training. And also more importantly, our instructional leaders and department heads in our building and each of our content areas is doing those walkthroughs too, because it's a peer-to-peer feedback system that is usually sometimes even more receptive when you're hearing it from a peer and what we need to work on to move forward. So we're super proud of how our teachers are rising to the occasion.
Good evening. We're actually going to start with a video before we start talking about our Freshman Academy.
Freshman Academy is somewhat of a bridge program from middle school to high school here in District 2. We use different grading policies, credit recovery policies to ensure that freshman students are on track.
The Freshman Academy is full of a lot of unpredictability because you're getting people who just came in from middle school. They're trying to adjust to life in high school.
Freshman Academy helped me transition into sophomore year by giving me AVID, which is a college readiness class you can take at Freshman Academy.
My favorite part of the Freshman Academy was the houses. I feel like I got to connect more with the teachers than I get to do now. The way we were all in one hall, I could really connect with my friends from middle school. And it kept me like in those same friend groups and didn't really split us up that much as it does if we just got thrown into normal high school.
For those who are scared about coming into high school, I feel like we should be able to put them where there's somewhere where they're gonna be comfortable at with other people their age, because I know a lot of people fear about meeting older people in high school and not knowing what's gonna go on with them.
Our days are different from 10 through 12. We have about 51-minute classes that allow us to reach all of our students every day. Coming from middle school who have shorter periods, we didn't want to throw them straight into an hour-and-a-half classes. Doing the Freshman Academy allows us to kind of ease them into the high school experience.
For Freshman Academy, it is really helpful for like letting me know if I'm like missing something or if I'm like doing something wrong. And there's always some room to fix. They make it like a more comfortable sometimes more like relaxing. They're like really relaxed with a lot of things, but like they still are helpful at the same time.
Teachers have helped me get more familiar to Freshman Academy by like setting goals for me, I think, so I can accomplish them and be able to do them in the future.
My favorite part has been the classes and the curriculum they hold. It's just interesting, all the information they teach I have interest in, especially in math and science. When I'm stuck on a problem, I have the ability and feel comfortable to ask them for assistance or help, and they are able to help me progress through the question and make me understand it.
I think the Freshman Academy is beneficial a lot for the students, for even teachers. It takes a select group to do this work, but you have to buy in, and once you buy in, the work comes easy. And I do think the Freshman Academy is very beneficial, not only to Harrison, but I think it'd be beneficial to other high schools that implement it.
Good evening. I am proud to be here and in front of you all and talk about a vision that Pete mentioned 3 years ago. One of the last times that we presented here, we were discussing the Freshman Academy, and it was just a vision, and how it has taken off, not just at Harrison High School, but to find partnerships throughout the entire state has been an amazing experience on these 3 years. But first, I can't talk more about the Freshman Academy without congratulating Mike Armentrout, who is our media arts teacher and our media arts class, who created the video and did the filming. So I'm going to give them a little love right now. Actually, and on top of it, you may or may not know, our media arts class is going to be filming and photography for the CASB conference accomplishment as well. So 3 years ago, Pete came with this vision, had no idea where it was going to go, where it was going to take us, and it really also started with a partnership with a group, NCS, National College Success in University of Chicago. We created that partnership, who has done a lot of work around the United States in regards to freshman success. With that partnership, they've helped guide us in creating our data dashboard, which allows us to really sink in and be proactive around our students' academics and attendance, and we can get ahead of everything. So here's just some quick data to share. Since 3 years ago, from when we discussed the vision to where it is now, our attendance for our freshmen 3 years ago was about 80%. Now we're at 91% attendance. Our on track, which a brief explanation, which we adopted that terminology from the group in Chicago, which means students that have 1 or 0 Fs. They are considered to be on track. We started out at about 45% 3 years ago of students on track. Now we're at 65%. And we're still climbing. We still have 4 more weeks until the semester ends. And really our goal for the year is to maintain at 75%. But we have a big event, which I'll talk about here in a second, that I have strong belief that we're going to get to 85% before the semester ends. And interesting, this was a new data point. This comes from our district. Our first meeting to discuss early warning systems, we were told that we had 30 students coming to Harrison High School that were on all 3 tiers of the early. They reported that data to us. They were actually amazed. All those 30 students, 0 of them were on early warning anymore after joining. So that was an amazing data piece as well. I'm going to step aside. I'm going to let one of our newer members, Ashley, join our administration team to talk about our new initiatives that are going on in the Freshman Academy.
So we are doing we have a curriculum with the math, which has been amazing because it vertically articulates from elementary school up. And so we're able to see how student learning is transferring from middle school, even elementary school, and to our freshman year. We're using our mock data to align with our NWEA data, which we are so thankful for NWEA and being able to purchase that testing platform. It's been huge because we were able to create intentional interventions for our students on math and reading. And then the next piece is our community involvement with our parents. It was mentioned earlier that it does take a village to support our students. And so even before the first day of school, our Freshman Academy, we called every student as parent and welcomed them to Panther Nation, let them know what to expect the first day of school, and to let them know that we were here. We were here to answer questions, tell them back to school night. When students have become off track or are not coming to school, we're reaching out and calling parents, finding out what's going on. And then with parent-teacher conferences, we also reached out to parents, welcomed them, told them about parent-teacher conferences, let them know we want you here, we want to have a conversation with you. We set up in the hallway and provided grade reports and missing assignments to all of our families. We had over 90 families that came for parent-teacher conferences, and we were able to introduce ourselves, get to know the parents. They had all the data in front of them, and then they were able to meet with their group of teachers in one room to talk about their student progress. We were able to have translation services there as well, so we were able to reach all of our families, and no family or student was left without having a good conference. And so we know that we're creating this village, and parents are able to reach out to us through our teachers and through administration team.
And to close, I just have to say it takes a special leader such as Mr. Vargas to see and think outside the box and say, hey, we need to do something differently. This is my 18th year at Harrison High School, and he is the first to say, our freshmen are not getting what they need. We need to do something different. So a lot of this takes Mr. Vargas and saying, whatever we need, whatever resources you guys need, we're going to throw it at the freshmen. And it's shown with our data that with those resources, with the appropriate planning in partnerships, we can be successful in moving our students forward. With that, when we went to Chicago in October, we were able to visit some schools. Alcott School in Chicago had this creative idea. It's really just an assembly, but they take the assembly to the next level. And we think we have the pieces in place. I know we have the pieces in place to run the same sort of strategy that they did in Chicago. So I'd like to invite everybody December 4th at 12:45. We will be hosting a similar event that we will start off with an assembly, recognizing our highest achieving students, but also communicating the importance, because these are the first credits that our freshmen will earn, and it's going to speak volumes on how successful they are for their future career. And then after that, we're going to break off into different tiers, and we have different supports, and I would love for you guys to see the entire thing and provide any feedback that you can. I already have communicated with Norman. I hope it's on everyone's calendar, and we hope to see you there. Thank you.
You see two themes. One, we seek out partnerships, and two, we like to think outside the box and take risks. So hopefully you're seeing that. This is another program that we've done this with. In 2018, our referral rates were rising. We knew we needed to do something different. That different thing evolved into this. It came out of a partnership, multiple partnerships, one with Valor Collegiate in Tennessee, which helped us understand circles are also for staff, not just students. It also came out of work with the High School Reform Network through CI, which connected us with Poudre High School, and Poudre High School helped us develop, and we basically copied their peer mediation program. And then the third partnership, of course, was district helped us connect us with youth transformations. And they gave us the structure for dealing with conflict restoratively and preemptively. That work has evolved, and now, Portia, can you come up? So this is the most beautiful thing. I was her assistant principal in 2006. And she was a part of my PBIS team. That's what we called it in those days, as the student representative. And now she's Dean of Restorative Practices at Harrison High School. I just think that's so cool. Full circle, baby. So I'll let her take it.
Thank you, Mindy. Thank you guys so much for having us tonight. I want to start by thinking and talking about our strategic plan, right? For the next couple of years, we're focused on our classroom, our community, and our culture. And I think that the program that we're building and the action steps that we have in place right now hit all three of those things, which I think is really amazing for us to be able to showcase to you guys. So for our peer mediation program, I want to take us back to 2019. At that time, we had about 30 students that had participated in a restorative justice conference within one given semester. In 2022-2023, we had about 49 students participating in restorative justice conferences in one semester. This year so far, not including the last 2 weeks, we've had 77 students that have participated in a restorative justice conference so far, right? So students are learning conflict resolution, and we're also allowing our peer mediators to lead connection circles with staff as well. They've been able to lead 4 different circles across the district with different staff. So it's been pretty incredible to see this program grow and transform. And all I can do is talk about how amazing our students are. While I'm there to coach them and to facilitate, they're doing the work, as you guys can see in these pictures. If you look at the bottom right corner, that's just a snapshot of some of the things we've been working on. If you'll notice, some of our conferences are staff requests, and some of them are students coming to us saying, hey, we need a space to be able to talk about our issues with each other. And something that's fascinating that's shifted over the past few years is beforehand it was always post-conflict, right? So all of our conferences were after something had happened. And now we're getting a lot of preemptive of like, hey, I feel like this situation might get worse. Can you step in and help us out? So the green are the ones that we've had students be able to talk with each other. The yellow is coded for students that are like, we want you to have one-on-ones with us and check in with us to make sure that we're still doing okay, right? So we've got a lot of those things going on throughout the entire school building. And the program has just transformed to be something that's super incredible. We have our students that are leading a lot of the work that we're doing. They're mentoring students. They're in classrooms with our freshmen, and they're just incredible, which is why we have 2 students. I don't want to talk anymore, but we have 2 students who are going to share their experience with the peer mediation program, and yeah, so that you can see what I get to see every day with them. So we have Marcus Hughes, who you've already heard from today, so he gets to come back up. And then we've got Aaliyah Martinez as well, who's going to speak about her experience.
I'm Aaliyah Martinez, and some people might ask why peer mediation is a big impact in my life. Well, a few years ago, when I was a freshman, my cousin joined peer mediation. She was in peer mediation. She was a senior. And my brother was in a very bad car accident. And the original teacher, Miss D, was there when I needed to talk to her about my brother being in a car accident. I've learned that peer mediation is more than just us. It's more where we build relationships with freshmen. We have to build trust. And peer mediation is so important to me because when I was a freshman, I really didn't like talking to other people. And then I realized that there's a lot more in life than not talking to people. Peer mediation helped me grow out of my shell. Now that I'm a senior, it's like my 3rd year in peer mediation, and I love it.
Hello. For me, peer mediation kind of helped me in my high school career. As some staff at Harrison can tell you, especially Ms. Gibbons over there, as a freshman, I was going down the wrong path. I was failing a lot of classes, and I was like getting in with the wrong crowd of people. And then once peer mediation started like getting involved and getting more interactive with me, it like kind of changed my perspective of high school and like how big the impact of it with the students and like other staff members, and how impactful it could be for somebody's life, especially when they're going through things. So I decided to join because my life, like ever since like that part of me is like gone, my goal in life has been to like make an impact on people and like help others get out of sticky situations that they don't feel like they can because they're hanging with the wrong crowd and whatnot. And I just feel like as pure mediation and as they said that more students are coming to us and stuff, I feel like it's more impactful that not only that they have staff to come for, because like a lot of students from like my perspective, students don't like to talk to adults older than them a lot. So with more student impacts, they're more likely to open up and then come talk to students and like help resolve more conflicts before they arise to something different. Thank you.
Aren't they amazing? So as they mentioned, right, being in peer mediation isn't just about conflict resolution. It's also about building a community within Harrison. And it's about creating a culture where students feel comfortable resolving their conflicts without fighting about it, right? And where they can come back together and say, hey, we can talk about this and we can figure this out. And we're continuing to grow the program. We're continuing to allow our peer mediators to go out into the community to show them what we're working on. And I think that within the next 5 years, we're going to start to see them leading a lot more, not just connection circles, but they're going to be the ones that are taking my job, right? Because that's what we want. We want our students to be in these types of roles. So thank you guys so much. Appreciate
We hope that we painted the picture of the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I'm just going to end it with, I am honored and blessed to serve as our principal, and there's no other place I'd rather be than Harrison High School HSD2. If you have any questions for us, these guys can answer. But thank you for the time.
Before you all ask your questions, I think it's imperative to understand that's why our accountability system has to change. There's no test that will measure the ability of our kids, especially in a diverse population. It is set up for white middle class America, and that is not our community, nor do we want it to be. We love our kids, and our kids deserve every recognition they should have, and we need to fight against what pushes our kids down, because you just heard amazing things from our kids who are doing amazing work and outperforming their peers in spite of the resources they don't always have. And so that's why there's a fight against the accountability system, because our kids deserve better, and we'll continue to fight until it's there.
Just like to commend the journalism class, the journalism class, on embracing the voice of the students. And I want to commend the leadership and the teachers for also understanding how strong student voice is, because there are why. That's what we do. And so when we can get them hooked and they understand this is our problem. And so just very proud of all of you, and what a wonderful presentation.
I agree, Dr. Robinson, with comment. I am really not surprised because you are very competitive. But I think utilizing that spirit of competitiveness to tackle an issue that faces the whole school. And I think students, I think you guys are so amazing. And am hopeful for our future in D2 and in this part of our city. Please don't ever quit. Please. So many people are depending.
Right, then I follow. Not today, though. Mr. Vargas, you and I have had a great relationship since I've been on the board, and I have no doubt in my mind you are best fit for this job. I remember sitting with you, year one, establishing that foundation for the freshman academy to see what it is now. That's going to take care of the inflow. Now we can take care of the meat and potatoes in the middle. I have no doubt in my mind you're the guy. You know? So you already know you have my love. I love the Panthers. Hey, you have my support, sir.
One thing I want to say is thank you, Coach McCann, for putting that really nice picture of me up there. I like that a lot. But I do want to talk about a few things is that definitely all the admins here that are present right now have definitely built a relationship with me, whether it is me getting in trouble in the office a couple times, Mr. Herfindahl. And then that's learning from mistakes. And that was when I was back in freshman. And in freshman, like how Marcus says, it was like being tough and I was like going on a bad route. But peer mediation, on the other hand, was actually that there was that gap. It was that one gap that actually brought me from feeling that I was lost to like, oh, I'm getting a break from my class and I'm having a bunch of upperclassmen actually want to participate with me as a freshman. And that's why I love peer mediation. And being an ambassador, I can actually connect with these freshmen. Because if you think back to your freshman year times, to some of these adults in this room, how did you feel? Seeing a little bit of mixed emotions. I exactly know how that felt during my freshman year. And I believe that if peer mediation was back ago, you would definitely have a change in thought of how you felt as a freshman.
So, once a Panther. Well, that was really weak. Panthers, really? Oh, Lord. So, Mr. Vargas, I cannot articulate how proud I am to see the progress that has been made, and even taking seriously the fact that owning your ugly means there's work to do, but you're not just talking about it, but you're actually doing the work. My daughter is class of 2020, and there are people in this room that impacted my daughter, and she is now in her third year at CU Denver. And the things that she learned, including Cornell notes, she still is using that in college. So I just wanted to say how proud we are of Harrison. We're proud of all our schools. But tonight we're recognizing and celebrating Harrison and the accomplishments. So I've been told to cut it short so that I could be appreciated. So anyway, thank you. Keep up the good work. Every child is worth the effort. Our families are worth the effort. And just congratulations, and the best is yet to come. And by the way, I will be there on December 5th. Okay? Thank you.
Mr. Vargas, can we get your presenters to have a picture with the board quick? Now we are going to do some special honors. Every month it seems to get longer and longer, which is a great thing to happen. We're going to start with recognizing some middle school wrestlers and their league championship placements. As a mom of a wrestler, I can tell you I know what you go through. I had to do the cutting weight with my son and I hated it. So I know as a middle school wrestler, it is hard. So congratulations, you guys represented us so well and we're so proud of you. When I call your name, if you can come join the board and we have a special prize for you and then we'll take a picture when you're all up here. So one of our 8th graders from Soaring Eagles got 2nd place, Richard Reed. Another 8th grader from Mountain Vista, Maddie Finley, was 4th place. And another 8th grader, so high school, you better start recruiting. 8th grader from Carmel, 2nd place, Nicholas Feist. And 8th grader from Carmel, champion 1st place, Tori Means. And then we have 2 7th graders. 7th grader from Carmel placed 2nd, Joseph Padilla. And another league champion, 7th grader from Carmel, Javaria Scott.
And one thing that we like to do is we like to recognize all of our students that participate in the showcase. So if all of the students from Harrison that just participated in the presentation, if y'all would come up, we have something for you as well. Now we want to recognize Harrison Boys Soccer. They finished the season 10-2-3 and became back-to-back CSML South League champions. The team earned their 3rd trip to the state tournament in as many years and had both the Player of the Year and Coach of the Year for the league. Their season was built on discipline, commitment, and trust, which extended well beyond the field and into the classroom. Over 50 nationalities are represented on the Harrison boys soccer team, but you would never know because of the culture and connections the boys have made with each other. Highlights included giving back to the Southeast Colorado Springs community through their first youth soccer camp, the 2nd annual white versus black inter-squad game, the return to JCC Ranch Camp for an overnight of team building and camping, and winning the league title and automatic state qualifier. Our head coach was Coach Bridger Stapleton. If you can, all can come on up. Assistant coach Jeff Mankey. Assistant coach John Merriweather. The 3 captains, Freddie Flores, Isidro Topote, Manuel Cuellar. And Manuel is also the CSML Player of the Year. And our parent organizer for the year was Emma Frausto. If you would join as well. And our players, Arturo Rivera, come on up, Jesus Avalos, Freddy Flores, Andrew Sanchez, Sharif, Manuel Cuellar, Daniel Garcia, Juan Palacios, Carlos Mejia Fregosa. Hold on, there's more. Isidro Topote, Carlos Ornelas, and Richard Yamil. And Edwin Montara, dispense. He's done a great job entertaining his baby sister. She's so cute. Okay, we want pictures with all of you, and we have gifts for all of you. Oh, they already got them? Whatever you want. While we're getting the picture, I also want to share that our JV made goals at the beginning of the season to grow as a family. 10 wins and show up every day. All 3 of these goals were accomplished with 12-1-2 record. Taking care of business in the classroom, showing up every day, willing to work hard, and creating a family atmosphere. They truly understood what being a team is all about. And head coach with the JV was Jeff Mankey. And this shows that we're going to be around for a while, aren't we, Panthers?
Next, we would like to honor Miss Patty Vale. Patty, can you come up? When Patty took over our gifted and talented program, we were on improvement plan from the state. And in 1 year's time, we are now a program of distinction that they look at as a model throughout the state. Patty was selected as the Administrator of the Year for the Colorado Association of Gifted and Talented for this work. And she tried to leave D2, but she came back where it's really home. And we applaud her and her work. She works part-time, but you wouldn't know it because she's everywhere all the time. And we do only pay her part-time though. But Patty has done amazing things with this work and put D2's Gifted and Talented program on the map. Thank you, Patty.
Now we would like to recognize the 2 of our staff members,
let me give you a little bit of history. At the heart of our city's progress are individuals who drive change, inspire others, and exemplify leadership. The Mayor's Young Leader Awards are an opportunity to celebrate exceptional young leaders from all walks of life. This annual awards program recognizes professionals ages 40 and under who are stepping up to current challenges and serving as leaders in Colorado Springs through their work and volunteerism. This year, Harrison School District is very, very proud that we had two finalists, and Mr. Keith Basalin was the award winner in the education category. Congrats. And Mr. Patrick Nelson was a finalist in the creative industry. Harrison is very fortunate because the Young Leader Award started with back in 2015, and one of the very first people that was awarded for education was our superintendent, Dr. Wendy Burhansel, was the first group of young mayor leaders. And then a few years ago, under education as well, our board secretary, Mr. Corey Williams, was also one of the young mayor leaders.
No, you hold it in the middle.
All right.
Now resume. We are at item 6, which is department updates. And 6.1, it is the D2 teacher apprenticeship, Dr. Mike Claudio, Assistant Superintendent of Support Services, and Miss Christina Randall, Educator Pathway Instructor and D2 Teacher Apprenticeship Program Coordinator. Floor is yours.
And she forgets this title, but former state teacher of the year for Colorado. Woohoo!
Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Burr Hansel, really this is going to be the Christina Gillette Randall show. I'm just going to step to the side, but this program is in great, capable hands because of Christina. The floor is yours.
Well, hello, everybody. I feel a lot better now that everybody has exited the room. This is going to be a fun little session. I'm Christina Gillette Randall, and I know many of you already, but if I have not had the honor of meeting you, I have been in the district. This is my 22nd year, 19 years in elementary, and then 3 years ago, I made the jump to high school to begin Educator Pathway courses. Today, we are going to talk a little bit about the D2 apprenticeship program. Thanks. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about the why of this program. The why of this program is in May of 2023, Colorado passed some legislation, Senate Bill 23087, to address the teacher shortage by creating new licensure pathways to for first-generation college students, individuals needing full-time appointments, school staff, and those without access to the traditional teacher programs. Unlike our current alternative licensure programs, which require a bachelor's degree, the Teacher Apprenticeship Initiative opens pathways for Coloradans who have yet to complete any type of degree, which expands the candidate pool to meet the needs of our schools and students. So a teacher degree apprenticeship program builds on the foundations of current alternative licensure routes. They still have bachelor's degree requirements, approved training, and structured on-the-job experience. But this program allows teachers to start training sooner, and it provides them with over 4,000 hours of practical classroom experience before their first year of teaching, ensuring readiness without compromising quality standards. In January of 24, Dr. Claudio and I attended a launch event in celebration hosted by CareerWise Colorado and Colorado Mountain College for the new teacher apprenticeship program. And since then, we have continued to work with CareerWise and Colorado Mountain College, as well as 9 other partnering school districts that are part of the grant, and we have received $11,000 in seed funds to get the program going. We've developed the second largest apprenticeship program in Colorado, and it is the only apprenticeship program in Colorado Springs or the Pikes Peak region. Yes, clap salute. There's the crowd. Okay, so I want to talk a little about our program vision and then some of our goals, okay? The program vision is up there. It's the teacher apprenticeship program empowers paraprofessionals to become certified teachers through a seamless blend of education, mentorship, and hands-on experience. By fostering their growth and career advancement, we strive to enhance educational quality, meet the growing need of qualified teachers, and ensure that every student in our district receives exceptional instruction. The mini goals we set after we came off of our launch event in January were by spring of 24 to identify who are our qualified mentors who would be able to support our teacher apprentices. We had an amazing opportunity through the grant to put these teachers through a mentor teacher endorsement, which is a endorsement recognized by the Colorado Department of Education. And Colorado Mountain College is one of the organizations that's certified to provide that endorsement. So we were able to we had 21 teachers apply for this, and then 11 of them were selected to complete the summer cohort. As part of the grant, it was paid for. Their coursework was paid for, and they received a $750 stipend for completing that coursework as well. Those mentors span 7 schools, 2 community, and then 5 elementary schools. So that was step 1, is who do we have in place already? Once we did that, then we reached out to administrators to achieve goal number 2, which was identify paraprofessionals with exceptional talent and dedication interested in earning their teaching certification. We hosted a informational meeting in spring of 24. So if you are following the timeline here, everything had to happen really quickly to take advantage of these grant funds. We had 27 paraprofessionals attend the initial meeting. 13 ended up applying, 10 went through the interview process and were selected. And then ultimately 6 did follow through, commit, and they actually just completed their first 8 weeks of courses and have earned their first 6 credits, EDU credits through Colorado Mountain College. Yes, celebrate that. Moving on, we still have a couple of goals we're working towards. So we wanted to increase the number of schools with qualified mentor teachers. And I want to make it known that there are teachers across the district who are more than qualified to be mentors, but we're really looking for the ones that have the endorsement, because Colorado Mountain College has worked to help build their understanding of how working with a teacher apprentice is different than working with a traditional student, okay? So we wanted to increase the number of schools. We were able to go back to our wait list and invite 8 additional mentors. They're doing a fall spring cohort, so it spans through the school year, where they're doing coursework and their mentoring hours. Again, this is at no cost to them because of the grant, and they are receiving like a $1,200 grant or a $1,200 stipend for completing this. So basically we're paying them to complete this endorsement. With the addition of these 6 mentors, we've also been able to add 2 more schools so we can expand the opportunity to our paraprofessionals. I want to talk a little bit more. Oh, wait, I want to add this. Sorry. I want to also note that for our apprentices, they have all 6 of them basically have school paid for right now with grants and FAFSA funds. So they're able to keep their job, which was important for them because they're supporting families. And now they're going back to school to achieve a dream at 0 cost to them. And one of them shared with me yesterday that she's actually getting excess funds, and it's a blessing for her because she's a single parent. And so she's getting excess FAFSA funds to help support her family. And she said it's like a Christmas miracle for her. So also we're celebrating. I want to look at our other next steps because there's step 4 you see to expand the opportunity to Harrison and Sierra seniors. And let's talk a little bit about that as well as other next steps. So I'll start with the first next step, extend the opportunity to paraprofessionals. We now, as again, you probably have followed, we have 9 schools that have qualified mentor teachers who are seeking their mentor teacher endorsement. I want to talk about the compensation plan for our apprentices because this is a big one for our paraprofessionals, a big reason or a perk for them along the way. We've come up with a compensation plan where if you're unfamiliar with apprenticeship, which I am, I'm learning a lot about this, but I'm more versed now. So to go be an apprentice, there are 5 levels of competency. And within each level, you have to show proficiency, okay? And the proficiencies are based on how well you're demonstrating teacher quality standards. So there's another bonus of the program. Our apprentices are already becoming familiar with teacher quality standards, which they understand they will be evaluated on as classroom teachers. As they reach, so pre-apprenticeship is really for our high schoolers. All of our apprentices, the 6 of them are on level 2 right now, beginner apprentices. As they show proficiency through those competencies, they will get a $5,000 increase to their base pay. The reason we went with the solid increase of $5,000 instead of a percentage was so that we can even it out since we have paraprofessionals entering at different hourly pays. The $5,000 was a more fair way, and plus when they see the number, they like that. So after they show competency at level 2, they'll get that $5,000 increase to base pay. They keep traveling, their responsibilities increase. Eventually they become a teacher of record as well. And then there's another $5,000 increase included to their base pay. I do want to note that there's a stipulation that they have to remain in good academic standing and enrolled at Colorado Mountain College to continue that. So yes, our compensation plan is pretty innovative. At least that's the feedback we're getting from others. And I would also say because of our compensation plan, we're getting interest from paraprofessionals and other school districts. So I went to an informational meeting and spoke with a couple, and I've got names from people at District 20 and District 49 who are eager to come over because no one else is doing this kind of program. So it's definitely getting some attention. Going to number 2, build a pre-apprentice pathway beginning in the fall. So for the past 3 years, we've offered Teacher Cadet to our high school, Sierra and Harrison high school students, which I have the honor of leading. And Teacher Cadet's wonderful. It is a year-long program where students complete and they get 1 EDU 2211 credit, which is Introduction to Education through Pikes Peak State College. That is wonderful. I love it. I'm appreciative of it. We are working though with Colorado Mountain College, and then there's only 2 other districts, Summit and then Steamboat, which are both nowhere near us, we're working to build a pre-apprenticeship pathway for our high school students. Our goal is to kick this off in fall of 25. The idea is for these students to be able to take EDU credits still just like they're doing now, but Colorado Mountain College would be providing, and they have approved up to 12 credits that they would let our kids take. So in fall, they will have the opportunity to start those first two courses and already start with 6 EDU credits. And then we will roll that out or roll it back for juniors to be able to participate so that if they started junior year, they could earn up to 12 credits. Again, this is a work in progress, and we are receiving some more grant funds to get this going and build advertising and just build our program. And the goal really is, I've had some wonderful students come through Education Exploration, which is an elective course to recruit them into the college level course. And they are first gen students, so they cannot see themselves in college, and they say, I really want to teach, but right, but I have to help my parents, or but I need to get a job. And so this pathway would allow those students to still achieve their dream while also contributing because they would be hired as paraprofessionals. So building the pre-apprenticeship pathway. And then finally, the next step is to work with the CDE Apprenticeship Steering Committee. So I am on the Apprenticeship Steering Committee for the Colorado Department of Education, where we're creating a playbook, and they're really looking to our district to kind of say, how did you guys do it? Like, why is there so much interest? What are you doing? And so the steering committee is allowing us to work together with CareerWise, the PBC, and other organizations to create a playbook. And they're largely looking to Harrison to figure out how we're going to do that, which is an honor. So why does this work matter? Supporting R3, contributing to the common good. And I want to read this because I think this is important. Hiring paraprofessionals as certified teachers strengthens our schools by creating a stable, supportive environment with educators who already know and care about our students. These trusted figures in our community bring valuable experience and continuity to the classroom, which helps students feel more connected and engaged. It's also a step towards making sure our teachers better reflect our students, as our paraprofessionals are the most diverse workforce in D2. Investing in our paraprofessionals ensures that our most precious resource, our kids, have reliable role models and a consistent learning experience. So finally, what we need you to know is we don't do a lot of talking in Harrison. We do a lot of doing. We're going to jump in and make it work. We had a very short window to get this going, and we are rolling. As I said, it's one of the largest teacher apprenticeship programs in the state, which is setting the new standard for Colorado in growing your own teachers and paraprofessionals. As I told you already, 10 paraprofessionals signed up to do the program, 6 have followed through, and they're on their second set of 8-week courses. Again, no other person in Colorado Springs is doing this work. We've also received positive feedback from both mentors and apprentices. So I get to work closely with both CareerWise, who are the experts in apprenticeships, and with Colorado Mountain College to ensure consistent communication and strong support for our apprentices and the mentors alike. And in the first quarter one-on-ones that I held with each apprentice, the similar theme that emerged was that they felt well supported and equipped with the information, and they were taking what they were learning and applying it into the classroom. And so it's received very positive support from our apprentices. And then finally, we are removing barriers by creating opportunities for our paraprofessionals. The current licensure pathways definitely limit the diversity and accessibility of candidates entering the teaching profession because it does require a degree already. And so this pathway to licensure will open doors for groups currently underserved in these programs. And again, our paraprofessionals are our district's most diverse group, and they're already deeply invested in our communities. So they're going to stay with us after they graduate. They will be hired into the classroom as teachers. And then I do also want to know why Colorado Mountain College. They were one of the first institutes of higher education to jump on the opportunity. They've reworked their curriculum to accommodate apprentices who are still carrying full-time jobs. They've made their courses 8 weeks. They support our candidates. They go online once a week where they have classes, and they work with other apprentices and traditional students as well in other districts. And so they're able to collaborate and get to know their instructors as well. And their a Hispanic serving institution, which is always a bonus because they truly understand where we're at and they have the same vision and supports as Harrison does. So with that, are there any questions?
I'll just add that, so when we took on this new venture, which a lot of districts are scared to jump into because it's different, but we do that in D2. What better person could teach teachers to teach than the one that you just heard from, right? So Christina knows we have very high expectations for her, but she's meeting them. And like, I always say, like, if I could have a teacher, I would want her to be my teacher. Like her joy of teaching, her strategies, her ability to relate to people will help both our students who want to be teachers as well as our parents who want to be teachers be successful and have that resource. And so it's just, I'm just like a proud mom because we talked about this years ago while she was still teaching first grade at Soaring Eagles. And just to see it come to fruition, it's just so exciting and it continues to grow.
Well, thanks. I do want to add to that a story that just came today of a student. He didn't show up at all first quarter, second quarter, first half he missed, and then he started coming and he came right at the time we're working on instruction. And this is for the elective. So he was just thrown into this. But he came for the piece where we were designing lessons to go teach at the elementary school. And I didn't know if he was going to show up, but he came that day. And he has a probation officer. So we had to go through some extra hoops to make sure he could be off campus. But he went, and once the first group went through the next rotations, he was all in working with the kids. He was down at their level, and they have to write a reflection after about the experience. And this student at the end said, I think I might want to be a teacher. I actually really enjoyed working with little kids. And all it took was a little nudge of like, you were doing incredible. Can you imagine? Did you ever have a black male teacher in elementary? And he's like, no. And I said, can you imagine the impact that you could have? And just planting a seed. And so that's what I think this work is. I think it's planting a seed in high school. It's planting a seed with our paraprofessionals to encourage. We have incredibly talented paraprofessionals. So let's get them in front of students.
I do thank you for your work. And Aubrey thinks the world of Miss Gillette, but I actually was able during my transition year to see you at your best with the kids, and some days I was able to fill in, and just to see, even when she wasn't present, I was filling in, but they were so independent, the kids were. But what I like about it though, it either hooks the students and we really get those kids who want to be the teacher, or they know now, I don't think this is for me. I like it, but I just don't think it's for me. So it's a win-win either way, I think. And the apprenticeship is just, oh my gosh, what a cutting edge program. So thank you for spearheading that. And thank you, Dr. Claudio, because I know there's all those logistics that go with that, but I'm very appreciative growing our own.
Hearing all those titles, I'm thinking woman of many hats. I call Dr. Claudio the man of many hats because we just task him with things and he gets them done, but the exact same way. Except now you're training our next teachers to come in for the next generation, and that's amazing. And I hope that work is so fulfilling that you don't feel overwhelmed when it does get bogged down, because there are a lot of moving pieces, and I'm sure you have to motivate some of those who are in the program. Sometimes they feel like maybe this might not be for me, but you already started, so you're in there, so you got to finish it. And I hope you get joy out of those who you have to get past that moment of self disapproval. I appreciate it.
Hats off to you. This last one, removing barriers, creating opportunities. That's a big ask, and you've done it in such a impressively short timeline. You have a lot to be proud of. You're proud of you. And thank you for putting yourself out there and availing. I think Miss Portia Brown said something that stuck with me, that she was trying to work herself out of a job. I don't foresee you'll be working yourself out of a job. I hope you're going to be here for a very long time. I hope so too.
I will say with that, I am D2. I'm deeply rooted and I don't see myself anywhere else. But I also want to say thank you for the compliments, but it's really not me. It's really a team. Like when we've met with other districts, a team from Hawaii came out so they could learn about it, about our program and how we've set it up. We've set up panels, but really the feedback is, how are you getting HR to buy in? Or how's the high school do it? Like, what is the high school saying? And so really it's about connecting the dots. And I don't believe this work is done in a silo. So without my partner in crime here, who's like guiding me on like, yes or no, we can't do that per HR. And then Pam has been also incredible. And then Dr. Belay, and we're looping in Williams to get the high school. But really it's about taking all the pieces and all the experts in the room. So I am just the speaking front of the program, but there are a lot of people who deserve the credit. They're just not standing here right now. But thank you guys, I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Right. We are moving on to item number 7. There is no public comment. That allows us to go to item 8, communicating with the board. It is the DAC update. We have Mrs. Rachel Loffer, Assistant Superintendent of Teaching and Learning, and Mrs. Heather Mayville. Well,
You just got
Rachel is
me.
all we need,
Exactly.
actually.
Heather was going to be here, but she sits on some community partner boards, and so she's at a different board meeting tonight. But one day, she will come and present with me. So I'm going to skip through some of this, but I really just wanted to highlight a reminder of the DAC focus this year. The DAC got to choose areas from our strategic plan on classroom, culture, and community to focus on this year. And at the last meeting, our focus was embedding restorative practices in all schools. So it's perfect that Harrison shared earlier about peer mediation. We really took this meeting opportunity to ensure that all members of the DAC really understand restorative practices, because as I've mentioned before, we have a lot of parents on DAC this year more than ever, added a new one yesterday. So it just keeps growing. And we have some community members who we've created new roles on DAC since we haven't had community members in the past wanting to be part of DAC. So we did a mini training on what are restorative practices, why are we implementing them in D2, and then they got to do some group work in their 4 corners. So Heather led all of this. She's one of our experts on restorative practices, but really connected it to the bigger why for the DAC in terms of the Surgeon General's report that came out last year that some of you may have read, that really talks about the loneliness epidemic in our country. And I think what's powerful about this quote is I think a lot of us connect restorative practices and increased mental health needs with COVID. And that's really not the case. So from this report, it really talks about the rate of loneliness in our society has increased every year from 1976 to 2018. So this is before COVID. I think COVID just kind of surfaced it for us and made us realize we have to do something about it. So there's 6 pillars within this report, and our work with restorative practices as a district connects to pillar 6, which is about cultivating a culture of connection. And it really talks about how do we need to do this as a nation. And so we thought this was a nice connection for people who don't live and breathe public education, for our parents and communities to realize we are doing part of the national work, but really just bringing it to life in D2. So we really helped them understand around the fact that, yes, a lot of people think we are here to teach academic skills, but we can't do that unless our students feel safe in our schools, but also a sense of belonging. So when we've done some training with our administrators, Dr. Claudio found some videos around what does that sense of belonging look like in a classroom and how do you build that? But it goes even further than that in terms of also helping our students really kind of see their future and be able to picture what it looks like post high school. All of these pieces have to be in place first, and that's where restorative practices come in. Once we build those relationships, every student has a trusted adult at school, all of those pieces that you see from our survey results, which we'll bring to you next month, that's when we can actually start teaching the academics. This visual I also wanted to show you because we do talk a lot about whether we're doing things to people, for people, or with people. And that's really the foundation within a restorative organization, is that we come along and do the work with you, not to or for you. But how this translates to the classroom is this balance between you need a really high support, but also really high control. And a lot of new teachers really struggle with that balance. They want to build relationships with students, they really want to support, and they kind of lose the fact that you also have to have high control and help people learn how to be accountable for their actions. Or we have individuals that are really about a controlled classroom and they don't want to kind of let go of that control, but realizing you need to do that in order to build relationships with all of your students. So this is a nice, simple way to capture that, but you can also turn it into some verbs. And so really with restorative practices, what we're doing is trying to help teachers realize you are not your student's BFF. You're also not the enforcer, but we also don't want you to just avoid holding students accountable. You have to hold students accountable for their actions, but you need a relationship with them so they respond positively when you do so. So really that top right corner is what we're aiming for, is that as educators, we are the teammate, that we are solving problems with students, with our class, and really coming along with them to grow over the course of a semester or year. We broke down the 5 R's of restorative practices. I know we talk about restorative practices with you a lot, but thought this would be nice so that you realize this is really what we're working on. We're building relationships, mutual respect, how to help students build that responsibility within themselves. And when you have done harm to your school community, to a peer, to a teacher, that you restore that harm and then we reintegrate you back into that environment. So those are really the pieces that we are implementing in all of our schools. And I loved Harrison's presentation because I knew I could piggyback on this very nicely. Within restorative practices, the goal is that 80% of it is very proactive. So we are building relationships. We are intervening before there is a problem. Only 20% should be responding to when there's been harm and we're coming in to help in that conflict resolution. So I think a lot of people see it as that, just that restorative justice piece in terms of when something has gone awry, then we come in and support, but it's really all on that proactive side. So there's a whole continuum of practices within this framework. That just goes a little bit in depth and we spent a lot more time with that with everyone in DAC. And then we walked them through all of the training that we're doing. The exciting thing about this is that all the parents and community members were asking, well, when are you training us? And that is a goal that we're getting to. This year, we're focusing on 90% of our staff, and obviously students are involved in that work. Next year, the focus will broaden to being able to really inform parents and community about what restorative practices is all about. And then they spend some time in their 4 Corners group sharing ideas. They always ask that I type them all up and send them out, which is a good sign that they want to learn from everyone and walk away with new ideas to take back to their own schools. So that is an update on the work of our DAC this year.
I think it's important to know that this isn't just for schools either. District departments are doing this. We are doing connection circles in executive team. If I'm in a school and they're doing a circle, I'll jump in the circle. I did a restorative conversation with a eighth grader a couple months ago who had some choice words to say to me, and then we talked about it. But I think we have to model that it's not just for certain kids or certain places. It is what we do in D2. And so we have to be comfortable jumping in that space and helping people model that and just go through it. And it really is, it makes the work we do so much more fun and enjoyable, and we all come out stronger and better.
There it goes. Sorry, I thought I didn't break it. I'm good. Okay, so anyway, I can just switch. So thank you so very much for the presentation. I am a firm believer of restorative. I don't know, but anyway, so I'm a big fan of it. I have been since my daughter was in high school. I think when they implemented the program initially at Harrison with Jeanette, yes. I was one of the parent or community members, and it's been so cool to watch how this program has gone from infancy in a school to now it's become a district-wide practice. And so I just want to recognize the uniqueness of bringing it to the District Accountability Committee. That's really just being innovative and actually maximizing on the potential for where this could really go. So thank you so much for your efforts. So we are going to continue on. We are going to item 8.2. It is the September financial report. And up next, we have Mrs. Corey Arcaresi, CFO.
Madam President, members of the board, and Dr. Hansel, thank you so very much. Thank you. I'm sorry. So just in case this long meeting doesn't have you asleep yet, I'm going to bring up some numbers. So here, I will be presenting quarterly. So really the only numbers that I am going to be reviewing you are our general fund. You should already have a copy of this presentation. Thank you. Very first one. There you go. Go to the next. Okay. So there you go. So these are the revenues for the first quarter of this fiscal year. So it was for the period ending September 30th, 2024. This is before the MLO had passed. So when I present again, it will include estimates and projections for the MLO. What I want to point out to you is the columns to focus on are the ones on the right for fiscal year 2024-25. Mainly because there is a column that says estimated year end. And that's where we estimate these revenues to come in for this year. There's not a whole lot of movement here because our revenues are what they are. We know how much the state's going to send us. We know how much we're going to get in property taxes, all of those things. The only thing that's different is where it says total revenues. You'll see that our budget was budgeted at $172,630,522. We are estimating that we are going to end the year at $175,235,522. The reason for that increase is because we are reporting our Medicaid dollars differently. They didn't used to be reported in the general fund. In fact, they weren't reported anywhere. So in this report, when you go to the subsequent slides, you'll see that there's the insurance fund, the insurance reserve fund, all of those things. But all of these numbers were void of the Medicaid dollars that are brought in. So that is being moved from its own kind of category that was not reported before into this revenue category. It's equal to the amount of expenses in Medicaid, so it doesn't bring up our expenses. It nets to zero, but that's the only reason that the revenue is up over the budgeted. The estimated revenue for year end is up over the budgeted revenue. Yes. Okay. And that's really what you want to focus on as a board is what's happening to the revenues, because as we get further into the year, the budget is estimated obviously by the amount of grants we're going to that's going to come in after the pupil count numbers. Well, actually are validated in December, but I'll walk more of that at the next meeting when we start talking about MLO. Here, if you could scroll down just so that the bottom shows as well. This is the expenditures for the general fund. Now here, under the budget column, again, far right, the columns on the left, on the left graph, are what happened last year. This year are the columns on the right-hand side. I'm going to get a laser pointer. So you'll see that the total expenditures were budgeted $130,613,447. And you can then see that we had a deficit of $10,661,684 that was budgeted for this year. Having seen that quickly, we put cost control measures into place. One of the things that we are really aiming to do this year with our budgeting is get more finite and granular with our budgeting, because most of those dollars come from salaries from positions that are not filled. So when you take a look over where it says year end, if you could go a little bit so we can see the title, the columns, where it says year end before budget, you'll see under salaries. Salaries are estimated to come in at $76,477,481, and they're budgeted at $79 million. So you can see that there's a huge gap because we're budgeting for positions that most likely will not get filled throughout the year. And so we'll get more granular in our budgeting this year into next year's budget. So hopefully it'll be much, much closer to what we actually anticipate we're going to have filled. Because the problem when you do it this way and budget for positions that aren't going to get filled is that money goes unused and where you could have used it in other areas. And so it's not the right thing to do from a fiscal perspective. Thank you. And this is the last one we went through, but the benefits are outlined as well. So you can see both the salaries and benefits are estimated to come in under what is budgeted. You'll see under operating dollars, here is where you'll see it go up from 25 million to 26 million. However, it's if you see the purchase services. So when we don't fill a position, a salary, we supplement that with a substitute. And that's a purchase service because we go through a third-party company in order to bring in that substitute. So that's why you see the expense under purchase services be over what is budgeted. So 16 million versus 14.5 million. Is everyone with me? Yeah, okay. Joyce? Yeah, okay. So, so you'll see the 16 million over 14 million because that's where the contracted substitutes are charged to. So you'll see salaries are down, but purchase services are up. However, while purchase services are up by 2 million, overall operating expenses are only up by 1 million or 1.6 million. And that is because of all the cost saving measures that we've been putting into place since the beginning of the year. I've been very, very popular. So total expenditures are anticipated to come in at 128,536,897 versus 130 million, 130.6 million. So we are making significant inroads. So overall, instead of the $10.6 million deficit that we had budgeted, right now we're looking about a $6 million deficit, which is an improvement of $4 million in only one quarter. I'm just going to get out there and say that we're going to be able to overcome this by the time the year end comes. Well, definitely because the MLO passed, and we'll get those monies in the spring of next year. So they'll go against this. So next time I present, I'll be able to point those out to you. But I wanted to make sure you guys knew kind of the major variances, where things are moving, why they're moving on the revenue side, and then where they're moving also on the expense side, and what some of the budgeting philosophies we're already discussing are going to go into place for next year.
No, I don't have a question. Okay.
So you said that we'll be able to overcome deficit by
It's 6 million, yes.
6 million.
Yeah, it's 5.9.
Yeah.
That's why I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, can you share how?
We think there's still room in the salary area. And we know that this is very, very conservative. We know that the cost-cutting measures that we put into place are going to be extended through the year. So we know that as we get into our budget cycle, so we're right now working on our budget templates so that we can get those rolled out, working with the rest of the admin team. As we update the budget, we're going to be updating our projections as well. So I'm very, hopeful that we'll come close to overcoming that. There isn't any one magic bullet that's going to do it. The majority, I think, is going to come from salaries. So teacher, it costs us more money than a substitute does. So as those positions remain unfilled and we fill them with a substitute, we'll continue to do that. And that's mainly because not because they're on an hourly rate, but because we pay 21% in para.
I will say, just again, to reiterate what Corey said, is in one quarter, we've cut 4 million. We have 3 more quarters to go. So following those procedures, and Corey has helped us as executive team really outline where do we need to tighten up, what our schools needing to tighten up, and everyone, even with some grumbles, has been all hands on deck. They know that with ESSER being cut and with the state still not funding us what we need, this is what we have to do. And again, with MLO, it was to provide salaries. And so we have I feel really solid about our plan. And we just had a 4.5-hour retreat with the executive team to talk about budget. So we are all well versed in where we are and what we need to do moving forward, and all hands on deck. It's not every department has to cut 5%. It's not we're getting rid of all these positions. It is very strategic where we can tighten up, and then we get these results. And so the work we're doing, I feel really good about, with Corey leading us through those exercises and be very transparent with you all of where we are.
And yeah, and that's what I wanted to say. Thank you so much for walking us through this.
Sure.
And being transparent about where we were, where we are, and where you expect for us to be.
And like I said, I will continue to report on a quarterly basis so that you guys know exactly where we're headed and how we're doing specifically against budget, because that's the biggest thing. With the MLO, I will say that we will have to submit a revised budget in January. I mentioned the possibility of us submitting a revised budget. And we just didn't know if we were going to end up doing that. But now that the MLO passed, we definitely will, because the dollars are a significant change to what we had submitted initially. So I will be reviewing that with you as well. You'll be hearing again from me next meeting, because we have to do our mill levy certification, as well as I have an OE to report on. And oh, how could I forget? Oh my goodness. And our auditors will be here to report to the board the findings of our audit.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, what?
Sorry, I'm sorry.
It's okay. No, thank you for giving a lot more clarity to what it is we need to pay attention to and for explaining some things that were just like flyovers.
Right.
Because we saw a lot of pretty colors and charts. I have no idea what I was looking at, to be honest with you. Unless you're from the finance world, this is all,
There's a lot of numbers and
yeah.
you just really have to see which ones are the ones that are moving the needle.
Yeah. So thank you again for all of your efforts. This is fantastic.
Sure, and thank you for this opportunity. I was saying how one of the adjustments to moving to education is that everybody cries. Like everyone cries, but I got to say, after Harrison presented, I was crying back there. It was such a great. I'm like, look at me, I'm crying, and now I'm crying. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, we're moving on to.
Will this be going to the consent agenda, Madam
Oh,
President?
I am so sorry. Yes. So.
Is that a yes?
Yes. Would you please move this to the. Thank you so much. So now we are going to OE11, which is instructional program indicator report. No, I'm sorry. We're going to OE4. I would never skip you, Dr. So 9.1, personnel administration monitoring, Dr. Mike Clark.
Yeah. Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Burhantel, I'm happy to report that OE4 is 100% compliant. Yes, the first time in many years, yeah. And so I'll just go over some of the highlights that we had in OE4. This year, we retained 86% of effective teachers, which was a 4% increase from last year. Additionally, D2 had an increase of 19 teachers of color who applied and were hired for the 2024 school year. The district retained 93% of its effective non-school-based administrators. And finally, I think this is probably the biggest kudo we have in our district. 97% of our staff believe the district culture allows them to work in an environment of support and courtesy, as reported by the 23-24 district survey. How we got there was, if you remember last year, we had some concerns about some of the indicators that we needed to change. Two of those indicators were 4.92 and 4.93, where our wording in those indicators were of that effective year, and we changed the language to the upcoming year because we were making changes based on when the ATU was approved. And so that was putting us behind schedule with the OE, with OHM. So we were able to change that. Additionally, we were having minor concerns with some of the percentages that we had. So if you recall, we were supposed to increase the retention of effective teachers and effective administrators by 2%. So even if we were at 1.9%, we fall short of that. So we changed that to 80% of administrators and teachers, which is why we were able to be fully compliant this year, because those small increments, if you remember those reports, they were just going up and down. They looked like a Pikes Peak sometimes, and some of those increases and decreases. And so by changing it to percentages, we were able to be in compliance with all of our indicators. Any questions?
Some data that you're not going to see in this report that I think it's interesting is Corey, when she came on board, was at our our admin training this summer, and she made a statement that this is not what I thought education looked like because of the diversity of the staff we have. And I mean diversity, not just in race, but just all kinds of diversity and who are our educators. And I think when you increase the effectiveness of retention by 4% in education where everyone is fleeing, there's something happening in a good way. And our administrators typically only leave if we don't have a principal opening and they want to be a principal. So our APs might leave, they'll be a principal because we don't have an opening. Rachel and Mike and I can all tell you, we get emails weekly from people who want to come here and we don't have jobs, but they want us to have their name in case a job magically appears. And we have people who just want to come here to be part of D2 and the culture. You couldn't have said that 5 years ago. people were fleeing here. And so to have these people come back and then come back and stay, and these are high quality people, that matters for our kids on a daily basis. So Mike's team in HR has done an enormous job of recruiting, supporting, making sure that we take care of our people to get the right people in front of them.
There's no more comments?
I know the gist of the conversation, so I know I stepped out for just a moment, but speaking to what Dr. Berhansel just touched on, I remember first day of school last year, I was walking Stratton Meadows halls, and I met a teacher who said, I've been gone for 7 years, and I'm glad to be back because of the work that's being done, to attest to what she just said. And so I remember speaking with her, and we were speaking about a student who so eloquently at the third grade level says, I just hope that my teacher is able to understand me when I don't understand something. I was like, what? How do you know to articulate that you're not being understood and to take time with me? It was amazing. So thank you for the work that you do, Dr. Claudio.
Thank you. And I can, again, Dr. Berhansel mentioned it. Rachel and I and Dr. Berhansel here all the time. We're coming back to D2. We're walking the halls at schools and we're like, hey, weren't you a teacher here before? Yes, I was. Now I'm back because I love the D2 atmosphere.
If there's no other comments, Norma, if you would put this on the consent agenda. Thank you so much, Dr. Clark. And now we're moving on to 9.2. Ms. Rachel Lawfer.
Hello again.
Yours again.
Recently, when we presented OE11 monitoring report, we referenced that we felt like we were getting to a place where we really wanted to keep this pretty stable because it was accurately capturing everything that we measure within the instructional program. So we have very minor changes for you in this indicator report. I'm going to skip over a couple that are just kind of minor changes. But I can go back to those if you want me to touch on them. There's really just two areas you'll see in 11.4 on page 5. Screen catch up. Perfect. There's two changes here. You can go down just a little bit further. So you'll see where we excuse me, say maintains an online and in-person mode of instructional delivery. Previously, it said for all grades K-12. We've actually started to adjust that a little bit. We did not enroll kindergarteners into Aspire this year. We are really seeing a decrease in elementary for our online school. So right now it's 1st through 12th. And so we're just removing the K-12 to allow some more flexibility. In particular for the online component, knowing that that is really there to meet the needs of our families. And we see that need in middle and high school a whole lot more than we do elementary. So just removing it to allow some flexibility for future online programming. And then I referenced the next one during the monitoring report. Previous to Tammy Holland becoming the director of CLDE, who you heard from recently, we did not have a program plan within CLDE. She led that department over the last year in developing a very comprehensive program plan. Now that we have that, and that outlines goals for all of our multilingual learners, it made sense to align OE11 and this indicator with the goals in that program plan. And so one of the goals is that all of our schools will grow by 2 percentile points on median growth percentile on access, which is the language test that our students take every January. And so we're looking at continued growth of 2 percentile points every year. So still measuring English proficiency of all of our multilingual learners, but just aligning it with that particular goal. And then the only other one you'll see is on page 7 in 11.7. And this one, actually, we've had a little bit of an email conversation leading up to this. It's not changing the indicator, it's just changing the language. to be a little clearer to match this question or area on the rubric. So previously the language was not clear that it's actually students demonstrating mutual respect and support of the teacher. I've referenced this before, but on the state teacher rubric, levels 1 through 3 really measure the action of the teacher, and Dr. Robinson knows this well. Levels 4 and 5 look at the actions of the student as a reflection of the teacher and the environment that they have created. So this is coming from the teacher rubric and our evaluations of our teachers, but it's really looking at the student behavior in classrooms. So it's just clarifying that wording a little bit, and I worked with Ms. Wills Hill to fine tune that for you. That's really it, unless you have any questions.
Thank you. I'm gonna move that to consent agenda.
Thank you.
And then it is you again.
But it's really not. I am just turning it over. And there was a lot of dedication in the team getting here. One had a flat tire and yet still made it. So Andy Bristol and Scott Weldon are going to present the next one for you.
And this is item 9.3, R1, 1 and R1, 2 indicator reports. Thank you so much.
Good evening, board. I'm here to present the R1 academic performance indicator. And this is a new approach that we're going to take with the policy that we've updated earlier this fall. When we are now aligning this to literacy and to math, but still focusing on having 1 year's growth in 1 year's time. One of the other changes that we're going to have, and you'll hear Mr. Scott Weldon talk about how we arrived at these goals. But one of the things that we did is we aligned these indicators to our Unified Improvement Plan, our UIP. And in doing so, it now creates a mechanism for each of our schools to have that buy-in to the district unified plan. And so it is now, we have a few more data sets that we include you'll see CMAS in here for the first time, and you'll see DIPLs in here for the first time. And I'm also happy to report that we have a way to progress monitor in our high school. We haven't previously done that before. And so there's been a few changes to this, and Mr. Weldon will talk you through some of those ways that we arrived at our goals.
Good evening. Sorry, I'm not used to this. Hi, President. So we have a few high-level ways that we set our goals. If we scroll down to the next page. So for our iReady targets, it's been mentioned at this board and throughout the district that our growth target is always 100% of our students will make 1 year's growth in 1 year's time. So we've kept that the same. On the achievement side, those are set looking at historically what we have achieved and setting the bar a little higher to expect some improvement. So those are set on 3 to 4 years of historical data just based on when we started iReady. Go to the next page. So DIBELS, the state provides a monitoring tool, and based on where our students have started, these targets are set for above average progress because that's what we see, our early reading ability. Scroll through. So iReady again, that's just middle school now. A new assessment we've at 9th grade is NWEA MAP growth. So that has what's called a RIT score. That's what those numbers you're seeing are. That's looking at making sure our students are making growth. CMS and PSAT, SAT, these, like Andy mentioned, are tied to our UIP. And the UIP is totally focused on hitting state expectations. So these are the targets that we need to hit to be meeting state expectations. Graduation, that has been our historical target, and that's for a 4-year on-time graduation rate. So we have the traditional high schools, and then we have our alternative school.
Can one of you speak to why it's important to have these multiple measures of data versus what we used to use?
It gives us a more comprehensive view of how the district's performing, and especially our early literacy. It's important that we're monitoring those targets as well, and especially for you to see how we're doing.
And another thing is that we do have a lot of all the state data is how we get rated on our school performance and our district performance framework. And previously, those weren't part of our indicators. And so having that aligned to our UIP puts us with a kind of a check and balance on the school performance framework, the district performance framework, but also there's a progress monitoring way that we can check throughout the year how we're doing. And so you have two sets of goals. You really have a summative goal, but you also have a progress monitoring. And so we can look throughout the year. We know the correlation is so high between our iReady test and our state assessment that we can say with fairly good confidence of how we're going to be performing with CMAS because of that.
I do like the format of this presentation. So once we get the numbers, then this is good. Not too many colors playing with my eyes. This is very good. What do you think moving forward? Let me think on it for a second.
As you're doing that, I'll talk about why we have graduation in there. We don't have an assessment for our seniors. And so one of the ways we want to make sure we have a goal for everybody, kindergarten through 12th grade, is to have that graduation goal. There is no summative assessment. We don't have any progress monitoring for them. And there's no SAT after 11th grade. So in order to have a indicator that captures all of our students in our district is why we have the graduation goal.
I just tag on the reason it says January 2020. It's always a year behind. It takes so long for the state to make that information public. Every January, you get last year's class graduation public.
You good? Okay.
Okay, let me do the math. So if we're looking at math in the 6th grade, and we're hoping that all students grow 1 grade here, that's the 100%. That's the gray line. What is the line above that? So that's the current.
That would be the percentage of students who actually are on grade level.
Currently.
Well,
Or last year.
historically, over the
Historically.
past few years.
Okay.
And so we have two different goals. We have one for growth, making a year's growth in a year's time. This is the percent of students meeting this. And so this isn't an average. This isn't a mean. We believe that 100% of our students can grow a year in a year's time. That's on the growth side. The number that you're talking about, the row above it, is when it says performance, that's or achievement. And so we have both ways to measure our progress. How many of our students percent grow a year in a year's time, and how many of our students are at grade level at the end of the year.
I like this chart, by the way. It simplifies.
And you all will still be reporting twice a year, so you'll be reporting a check-in and then end of the year. Is that the thought?
The February work session, we'll be giving you the mid-year update on how we've done with DIBELS and with iReady and with NWEA. And so we'll have a report for you on kindergarten through ninth grade.
Thank you so very much. Ms. Norma, please move this to the consent agenda. Thank you so much. Right. Now we are at item 10, which is the board consent agenda. Item 10.1 is the approval of a minutes for work session October 10th, 2024, and board meeting October 24th, 2024. Item 10.2, OE4, Personnel Administration Monitoring, Dr. Mike Claudio, Assistant Superintendent of Academic Support. Item 10.3, OE11, Instructional Program Indicator Report. This is Rachel Loffer, Assistant Superintendent of Teaching and Learning, and Mr. Andy Bristol, Director of Curriculum and Post-Secondary. Item 10.4, R11 and R12 Indicator Report. This is Rachel Loffer, Assistant Superintendent of Teaching and Learning, Mr. Andy Bristol, Director of Curriculum and Post-Secondary, and Mr. Scott Weldon, Director of Data. Item 10.5, I just need a recommended motion, please.
Madam President, I move to accept the board consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Mr. Williams did the motion to approve, second by Dr. Pam Robinson. All those in favor?
Aye.
Is so approved. Item 11, Superintendent Consent Agenda. 11.1, November 2024 Personnel and Comparison Report. Item 11.2, September Financial Report. Item 11.3, I just need a recommended motion.
Madam President, I move to approve the superintendent consent agenda items as stated.
Second.
Item 11.3, motion to approve by Mr. Williams, second by Dr. Pam Robinson. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So moved. Item 12, during board performance is the annual work plan and school special events. Norma, do you have any additions, correct?
The addition was the December 5th, the Gazette Best Workplace event that several.
Thank you so very much. Did you have something to add? Oh, go ahead. Mr.
Wanted to let you guys know about Sierra's Winterfest. It's going to be on December 11th at 4 p.m.
Moving on to item 12.2, legislative updates. Dr. Wendy Berhansel.
Just a couple updates. We need to be very aware of funding at both the state and the national level. At the state level, we want to ensure that we're not going back to the negative factor, and depending on how the governor's budget comes through, it could fall back very easily to the negative factor, which will definitely affect our district. At the national level, looking at how they're funding or not funding Title and SPED or ESEA, there is right now a debate of taking money from Title to fully fund SPED. That's just moving of dominoes. That's not helping. We need to fully fund both programs. The other thing that is in the works is getting rid of Medicaid at some point to put vouchers in play. And so as a district, I will advise that we really need to be aware and follow along with what's happening there. And then finally, in our legal counsel, Catherine is looking at this closely, what's going to happen with Title IX. That is going to be one area that they really go after with our new administration. And so how does that affect our policies, our supporting students? And so just being aware of Title IX changes across the board.
Thank you, Dr. Bell.
Question. I don't remember the healthy school meals for, I think is up for legislative review. I was gonna, like,
So Healthy School Meals for All is the program that put in free meals for all. When school districts were asked how much it was going to cost, they did not listen to school districts, and so now it's underfunded. And so now they are going to have to re-legislate it. And what they are probably going to do, one of the options is to increase the income level. And so less kids will qualify, and it won't be for all, it will be for some. Or they're going to have to add funding. The fact that the state is 900 million short, 900 billion short, I don't know where they're going to get the funding to add money to this. And so I will say in D2, we do a different program where our kids eat free breakfast and lunch already. And so that hasn't really affected us. But I know local districts who didn't do the free lunch and breakfast before will be affected whether they're able to pass it or not.
So much. All right, we're going to item 13. This is adjourn. Oh, I just need a recommended motion, please.
Madam President, with no further business, I move to adjourn the Board of Education combined work session and board meeting.
second.
Motion to adjourn by Mr. Williams, second by Mrs. Salazar. All those in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.